Looking for a car you can count on? At AutoMasters, we offer a hand-picked selection of used and certified pre-owned vehicles priced right and ready to drive. With easy financing and expert service, AutoMasters is your trusted dealership from test drive to keys in hand. AutoMasters, driven by trust, powered by service. Visit our website at automasters06.com or stop by today. And oh yeah, tell them Sonia sent you.
She say sports. She say sports. She say sports. She say sports.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia, and welcome back to She Say Sports. Please welcome award-winning journalist and host of Listen In with KNN. Please welcome Kelsey Nicole Nelson.
Hi, Sonia. How are you? Good to see you.
Hey, how are you? I'm doing well.
I am well. Just trying to get through this humidity and prepare for just so many big things. Look, you do what you can.
You do what you can.
You do what you can. So at this point, like I'm just letting my hair do what it does, and then just preparing around this craziness in DC. So much happening.
Yeah, it has been storming, so it's been very humid here. Shockingly, it's cool now. I think it's about to do something, so it cools off before it starts.
It gets crazy. That's here too. It's like it was like I think in the 70s or 60s, and then now it's supposed to be in the 90s. So yeah, it's just one of those crazy summers.
Crazy. But hey, what can we do? It's the Lord's world. So, right. So Kelsey, let's get right into it. So Kelsey, we are well underway in the 2025 NBA Finals featuring the Oklahoma Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. The Thunders lead the series 3-2, and they are trying to win their very first championship in the Western Conference. How do the playing styles of the Pacers and the Thunder match up against each other?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me say I've been enjoying this NBA Finals. I know when it first started, everyone was like, "Oh, we have these two low market teams. We've got good basketball." And honestly, we're watching like the next generation, right? In the NBA,
Yes.
It's exciting if you're a basketball fan, and if you have been watching the NBA over the past couple of seasons, you know. And again, I think he's the most underrated MVP we've had. But you've seen SGA's greatness. It didn't get deserved to me enough recognition. And so that's why I was glad to see him win MVP, even though, again, I will say this each and every time I'm on a show, he does not get talked about enough. Like he's averaging 30 points per game right now in the finals, folks, and he's done this throughout the playoffs. Such just a great leader, of his team, kind of maybe because he's not as outspoken, as we've seen some MVPs be in the past. But, all in all, I know the Pacers were going into this game known for their fast pace and playing style. There's a lot of questions about depth and who has the most depth, on, each squad. And, I think in this series, right, in this final series, we've been able to see that play out. But, I think the biggest question as we talk about playing styles, the Pacers, and this is why this next game is going to be so pivotal, Sonia, because we know throughout the season and throughout the playoffs, really, this is a Pacers team that characteristically does not lose back-to-back games, right? We know they're going back home. We know that has been, but then also we know the OKC has momentum, right? We know games when whoever can shoot the three ball better, that team can go into winning. But I think honestly, as we look at the playing styles, I think for the Pacers, they just have to play clean basketball. So when you look at the last game, you look at game 5, turnovers, right? 32 points off of turnovers, right? That OKC was able to get. So, that's, I think, again, just some of the passes, some of the backdoor, like we were talking about Indiana being able to have, maybe some of the size and being able to dominate in that point. But I just saw some sloppy passes, uncharacteristic, passes for this Indiana team. But all in all, I think the matchup is great. I think defensively, though, many people would lean obviously more towards OKC from what we see. Season, right? Guys like Lou Dort and people like that. But all in all, I think we've gotten what we've expected in terms of the finals. And I had called, Sonia, a 7-game series. I still believe we're going to a 7-game series. But I am watching this Tyrese Halliburton, right, calf injury, because I do think that, might potentially play a part because we know the Pacers are good when he's scoring at least 20 or more points. And without him being able to be the greatness that we know he can play with, I am a little worried for Indiana.
I am too. And they actually,
were down as much as 18 points and
Yeah.
made a comeback.
Right.
So
I
I
mean,
thought
he
it
had
was
been
about to
a
turn
comeback
around.
kid,
But
right?
those
We used to be
the turnovers,
killed
it,
them.
it, it killed them. And before we move forward, let's not only the finals, but the playoffs. It was kind of 90-ish with the Eastern Conference, New York. I mean, Boston, Indiana. I was seeing some great 90s football. I mean football, Lord. I'm ready for it. I am so ready for
You're ready
football.
for football season, Sonia. We
Yes,
get it. Look.
90s basketball. It was so
Yeah.
great. It was so nostalgic for me because, it was the heyday of the Bulls, and it just looked, it was an amazing time. I enjoyed this playoff. This has been the first time in years that I've
Yeah.
actually enjoyed the NBA playoffs, and definitely the finals. So I'm enjoying it. I really, really am.
I completely agree. Because again, I think what's been so fun, the Pacers were a team we had questions about, right, to start the season. But then they were able to really revive themselves. You can really looking at the beginning of this year. And I think as you go back
Right.
to the series, against the Knicks, and especially, Tyrese Halliburton, right? If you talk about someone who I know was coming up a game where he struggled, right? Like, yeah, right. I saw somebody wearing the t-shirt just the other day, right? Like it was great. And
It
that's
was
what I
great.
think, and the Knicks, and that's why, I won't get into the whole Coach Tips firing because I did not
Right,
agree,
right.
especially since they don't have a plan. But this is a team that we have been talking about now, like in the postseason. Y'all, I'm old enough to remember when the Knicks, we weren't talking about the postseason
That's
because we
right.
were going to get
Not
there.
since 1998.
So they had to start to establish, right, this kind of
Mhm.
dominance, you could start to say. But
Right.
all in all to say, again, this is I thought it's been great. Minnesota, obviously, there's questions around. I thought many thought they would do much better, right?
Yeah.
In the playoffs. Obviously, Denver, right, as well, right?
Even the Cavs was looking pretty good. I mean,
The Cavs are that regular season team. We just keep asking postseason. Can y'all do it?
yeah.
It's just like we keep getting disappointed, So it's like Cleveland will have to unfortunately keep the mistake on the lake nickname it has. Because again, we keep saying mistakes in the postseason with Cleveland. But all in all to say,
Yeah.
it's honestly been good basketball. Again, I hope that the Pacers can field a healthy Tyrese Halliburton. But not to say, but basketball, like any sport, it's about the next man that's able, to step up. But
That's
again,
true.
that series against the Knicks, that was fun. I will be remembering that for a long time, Sonia, and definitely still be talking about that series.
Absolutely. And you just said it'll be the next man. So, which individual matchup do you think will be the most crucial in deciding the series? The series.
Yeah, I think Pascal Siakam did his job the last game. I think Miles Turner is who I'm looking at, Sonia. I want
Mhm.
more, from him. He's been there a long time. He is a veteran. He has to dominate inside the paint. He just has
Mhm.
to. So I think that's the person I'm expecting more from. If they are to go on, I think an X factor. I think Obi Toppin doesn't get talked enough off the bench. But I also like, what Obi is able to bring into some of these games. But again, it's Miles Turner, point blank, period. I think he just has to do better. And a lot of people have been talking about guard play, but I'm old school, like kind of like how football's won in the trenches. I like
Mhm.
basketball won inside the paint. And he's somebody though also remember can also shoot, right? So not just dominating
Right.
paint, but again, I think he has the chance to be a game changer. So I definitely think that, again, depending on what happens with Tyrese Halliburton, and I pretty much know, I feel like we all know he's going to give his all. But Sonia, he can't do it alone. He's
He can't do it
going to,
alone.
he's gonna need help. Like there's no other way to put it. So I would like more from MT Miles Turner.
Absolutely. So, in your opinion, who wins it all? Who takes it home? And I
Oh,
agree
it's
with
so
you. I think
hard.
it's going to go in 7, but I'm going with the Pacers. Who are you?
I had picked Pacers in 7. So anybody that goes back on anything else I've been on, any of the other shows, any of the tweets I've put up, I said Pacers in 7. Obviously now I was a little bit scared after watching last night. But if anything, the Pacers have proven what, Sonia? Like we talked about, right? Coming back from 18 down, coming back in series games, like that they can be
Yep.
the comeback kids, right? They can truly be the comeback kids. So I'm going to stick with my original pick. And you look at the games that they lost, and again, it kind of like self-inflicted wounds when you think about it. And that's not to take
Mhm.
away anything from OKC.
Absolutely.
That the Pacers, that they can play better. And I think the fun thing about the Pacers, right? TJ McConnell is the other person we're talking about after last game. But, it's like who's going to be that person that steps up?
Mhm.
And we've seen that throughout the playoff series. So it's going to be someone that steps up, I think, in this next game. But I'm keeping it, Sonia.
I'm
I
keeping
want
mine too. I'm keeping mine too.
I
I
want
got
it for Indiana. They've come close, right? Think about last year. They've come close, but
to.
they've got to get to the promised land. So I got some more.
I mean, both teams are scrapping. They are fighting for this, and I'm enjoying the. It's just very intense. So we shall see. We shall see.
Maybe good. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Staying in the same vein of basketball, Kelsey, reports say that the WNBA's viewership experienced a significant decline during Caitlin Clark's absence due to her left
Yeah.
quadriceps injury. From May 24th to mid-June 2025, national television ratings for the league dropped by approximately 55%, with the Indiana Fever's own ratings falling 53%, from an average of 1.81 million viewers with Clark to 847,000 without her. Amazing.
Yeah.
What strategies can the WNBA implement to maintain strong viewership during periods when star players like Caitlin are injured or unavailable?
This is a tough one, right? And I know there's so many Caitlin Clark fans who are saying, I told you so.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is, Sonia, the WNBA up until recently had 2 undefeated teams.
That's right.
Two undefeated teams, like great basketball, right? The New York Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx. Another person that's always talked about a lot, obviously, is also Angel Reese. I think what's different this season, though, obviously, we're seeing her team struggle. And, Angel Reese has even acknowledged this season her own struggles, though she did come off a season high against a top team in the New York Liberty. But all that to say, I mean, Caitlin is a draw, right? No one's going to take that away from her. I mean, Caitlin Clark is not just a star on the basketball court. I mean, she's branding 101 in this era, right, of college athletes going on to pro athletes. I mean, she's literally showing a masterclass, right? I mean, literally being able to bring fans. But I think we have to remember there's some people who are true to it, not new to it. You're avid WNBA fans. I was just at Ben's Chili Bowl last week, with the Washington Mystics here in Washington, D.C., and the rookies here, Kiki Irvin and Sonia Ciccone. They were able to bring out a crowd, in Washington, D.C. in person, right, on a hot, humid, muggy day. I think the WNBA has honestly just got to keep on keeping on. I mean, they've been here long, and I know people want to bring that up, but each year the WNBA, again, you look at the viewership numbers, they have increased, right? I mean, people don't want to acknowledge that. Now, yes, Caitlin, and not just Caitlin, though. I think it's Caitlin and really, honestly, this year's rookie class and last year's rookie class, right? I mean, what's happening in college right now, right? We're seeing kind of, again, the evolution of what NIL has done and what it can be. And I think more people being introduced to the college game. And then remember what's happening on the college level, a lot more people tuning into the women's championship game.
Right.
Has been, frankly, right, more interesting. And you have dynasties being built, right? Gino's legacy getting, good challenge, right, from Coach Don Staley, even though Gino is still Gino, right? Don't get me wrong. Coach Gino. But all that to say, I just don't, the WNBA, I don't know what there's much more that they can do. They've had good brand partnerships, right? We've seen the Skims partnership. We've seen the New Hair partnerships. I think they're doing all the right stuff. I just think, honestly, for me, though, I think the thing I get the most, Sonia, every day my phone blows up. Kelsey, how can I watch the WNBA games? I think we just have to make it easier for where fans can watch, right? Is it on Ion? Obviously, Caitlin Clark has a lot of, in the Indiana Fever, have a lot of the national games. I can't tell you enough how many people seem like they don't know. Like, it's kind of like, with NBA, people always know, right, where to go, right? Whether it's TNT or ESPN or like in your local regional network, like where I am for the Wizards, you're on sports. For the WNBA, it doesn't seem that easy. So I think we just have to make it easier for where to watch the game or stream the games, right? Because now you have so many options and just make it that much easier. But then also, like I said, to keep evolving these storylines. I mean, there's so many good storylines right now in the WNBA, and it's up to WNBA to keep that branding. But that's all I would say. Just make the games a lot easier to watch. Caitlin is always going to be Caitlin, right? Just like MJ was always MJ back in his heyday. Not comparing the two, but just saying there's certain people.
No, I get what you're saying.
Brands, right? Even Angel Reese, right? Angel Reese is Angel Reese. There are certain people who have the brand level that's going to always be there. And then I think you use that to your advantage, right? I mean, if you have a star in your league, you market that and you use it to your advantage, right? Obviously, we saw the WNBA make the changes to different venues, right, that the Fever reported. And I know I was at that game when the Mystics played the Fever. It was Caitlin Clark's first game out from that injury, right? One of her missed 5 games. But they went to Baltimore. They knew they needed to accommodate more fans. The venue in Southeast Washington, D.C. wasn't big enough. So, and then obviously her games are on national TV. But I think exposure is still everything. I can't tell you enough how much I love when I go to Las Vegas and see all of the work that the city of Las Vegas does for the Aces. I mean, WNBA is there. I think the WNBA just needs to do that in each and every market. The Valkyries, the newest team, I think their marketing has been good as well in Golden State and how the city has embraced them. So if anything, maybe that's why I'd say something. I think maybe for viewership, I think just more partnerships with like local cities, maximum exposure. I think that would be my answer.
And you kind of answered my second question regarding them, and I totally agree. Major exposure, and then like do commercials. We don't see a lot, especially in certain demographics like the South. You know, we have Atlanta and Dallas.
Right, Dallas Wings. Right. And the Atlanta Dream are good too right now.
Right, exactly. But you don't see a lot of commercials. You know, like you saw commercials with, remember the Penny Hardaway with the little penny? You had the Penny, you had Michael with the, with the McDonald's, Space Jam, different stuff. So they need to do, get the people more interested. Be like, okay, I want to go get a quarter pounder, whatever, because of this, whoever.
More exposure. Because remember, Angel Reese had, I forgot, it was like a meal she had at McDonald's.
She did. That? And that's what she did with LSU. Yeah. She did.
So it's like, that exposed, like you said. So I think, and that's when it comes, though, again, to these partners, really realizing, again, there's so many young stars now in the WNBA. So how do you just, but at the end of the day, it comes down to exposure. You love what you see. You love what you see.
That's
and
true.
WNBA should be seen. Like it's summertime. We have all these talented athletes. It's a competitive league to be in. If you're watching, you know that by now with the Commissioner's Cup. Like there's so much good happening right now. Put it out there.
Put it in there.
Put it out there.
Kelsey, and so what lessons can the WNBA learn from other professional sport leagues about maintaining audience interest when top athletes are sidelined? I think we kind of answered it a little bit, but what are some things like other sports do? NBA. I mean, what else can we do? I mean, well, they can do rather.
Yeah, but the NBA's, but I think the hard thing, like I said, the WNBA is one of the newer leagues when you compare it to the more established leagues, right? In the US. I was just reading this article the other day about how many new leagues there are, right? Like one of the teams I was covering, the DC Power and the new USL soccer league, right? Not everybody probably even knows that league. Here in DC, we have the brand new our newest sports team champions in the UFL, right? The DC Defenders. I don't think many people, and that was on primetime television, right? Their championship game.
Yeah.
But I don't think everybody knows about that. So honestly, when a star gets sidelined again, that's why you need storylines. As someone who works in media and communications, that's why you never want to evolve yourself around just one person, one thing, right? I think one thing the WNBA really can do is push their causes. The WNBA has been one of the most long-standing league in terms of social causes. They were in front of the LGBTQ plus initiatives, right? Before it kind of became a popular or sexy thing, or now as it kind of has become a campaign to kind of, react to the current presidential administration. Right? The WNBA had been there long before for the Black Lives Matter campaign, again, in the front of the movement. And as we have seen more and more leagues, teams, organizations backing away from some of these things, again, political climate right now, the WNBA seems, again, remains in the forefront, of things. So I think that's another thing. I think social causes, when you think about what matters to people, when people go to the voting poll or box, a lot of that, it's what it is, right? What's social. So I think the WNBA can also push that, because I do think it means something to people. Again, a league that is accepting, a league that does push inclusion for everybody, at games. I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's honestly, when it comes to it, literally you could say that's what the United States is supposed to be about, right? Like a place for all, a place for everyone. We're seeing these young ladies achieve their dream. And so I think maybe that's one of the things that they could do, again, push some of their social. I know some people might say that's controversial, but again, I think, again, they're true to it, not new to it. People that have been here, that's been one of the things that they have enjoyed and embraced about the league.
Absolutely. I agree. Well, we shall see what they do, because they need to make some changes, because I remember Coach Staley said last year when Caitlin got drafted, she said pretty much the WNBA was going to be on her shoulders, and they proved it. Viewership it dropped. And so they got to fix something. They got to figure something out regarding that.
The WNBA is doing good, though. We've seen tickets.
No, they're doing great. But I'm just saying it made a difference with her not being in there. And I was just wow.
Yeah, there are some people who literally just like Caitlin. And we see she has a strong fan base, very avid, rampant, fan base. But a fan base that also pushes that same narrative. And I think that's what kind of has to counter. Look, Caitlin is an amazing player. She's a talented player, but the WNBA has been here before Caitlin. and plans
Absolutely.
after
Mhm.
she's done her career, right? This is something that I mean, when me and you are long gone, Sonia, we want the WNBA
Yeah.
right, to be continuing strong. So, again, I think you're right. I mean, yes, you want to brand, around your stars, but like something I love that the NFL pushes is that no one is beyond the shield.
Thank
I
you.
talked to a lot of, former NFL players, and they know that. And especially when their playing careers go, they know that,
That's
right?
true. Because
Because
they go quicker than any other sport.
I'm just saying. So at the same time, I
Yeah.
just think we have to be careful with the language because I feel like we would never say this to like even though the UFL numbers have declined from last, no one's talking to me about that, Sonia. So I just feel like, again, as it comes to like women's sports and men's sports, and again, I know they're different, but I just think we have to be careful with the narratives that we push, for them and around
Oh,
them
absolutely.
as we
Yeah.
talk about the game.
No, I totally agree. Absolutely. So, Kelsey, before I let you go, I must ask you your thoughts on the NCAA House Settlement.
Yeah.
According, yeah, I talked about it last week on my show, but I still I want your thoughts on it. According to Yahoo Sports, a California judge two Fridays ago granted approval to the NCAA's landmark settlement of 3 antitrust cases, often referred to as the House Settlement, ushering in an era where schools are permitted to share revenue with athletes within a new enforcement structure led by the SEC, Big Ten, Big 12, and ACC. Athletes in Division I schools will now get paid directly from the schools. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think we all knew we were coming here, right? Like
Mhm.
there was, it pretty much had to happen. Obviously, I love to see that the back pay will advance forward. I think the positives too of the Power Five conferences actually seem like, in college sports, we talk a lot about like all the mishaps and stuff happening, but they were able to come together. I think this and see like this was the future of the sports. We had the newly
Right.
established College Sports Commission, which I think we will have to say like, how that is able to take shape and take part. And I think the other big thing is, again, I think we kind of see the future of college athletics as we look at some of the high school athletes now, right? Those young stars, that they should, I personally have always felt that they should be able to be compensated off, their name, image, and likeness. So I think it's kind of in the Wild Wild West. I think the revenue sharing model is a positive. And with universities and schools, and as someone who has worked in a college athletic department, I see the positives of that. To work directly with the athletes. I think, the scholarship, kind of statures and that kind of going away and now being able to expand that is also going to be a plus as well. I think obviously the worry though, and I know right now there's, I believe, 2 Title IX cases against is the revenue sharing and how it will work. How will the caps work per sport? So obviously football is going to be the big one of them all. Most colleges would obviously say a lot of their sports revenue is driven by football, so they're going to get a bulk of the money, men's basketball, women's basketball. I think there's a lot of worry about all the other sports and especially female sports. I know the other kind of big domino to drop was HBCUs. I've been talking about that this week as well. The SWAC, I know, has opted in. I think there's going to be questions about their percentage of what they'll have to pay because opting in means you're going to be helping for that $2.8 billion settlement model. But I think if you want to compete, it's kind of like the pay to play. You kind of have to be part of this, right? Like, I mean, to recruit athletes now, and I've talked to coaches and I've talked to scouts, it's very different now, Sonia. Like, and again, I want athletes to be financially literate. But I do think this can be a positive step in the right direction. But I do think for folks that are like confused, no college athletic departments are still trying to figure this out right now, especially your non-Power 5 schools, right?
Right.
That's going to kind of be where the biggest questions lie. And then again, your female sports, like women's volleyball is something I have a question about, Sonia. Like we've seen the increase of women's volleyball, right? We've seen them be able to sell out stadiums and arenas, right? And you think about college.
I mean, Brett Favre was trying to build a stadium.
Look, right. Look, but she's right.
Allegedly.
But right. Like that's, and then if you look at NIL, women's gymnastics. So so all that to say, again, I think there's a lot of questions, but there was really no other way I think that we saw this going. But you always want just the athletes, to be in the front, but it's the sport specific salary caps. I know what a lot of people are questioning again in those female sports. Obviously only time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, because this is new, and you kind of answered like all of them, because I was going to ask you a question. No, you're fine.
I had a lot of thoughts on it
because I wanted to know about the Title IX and other sport, and I thought about bowling, I thought about volleyball, track, and how is that going to affect them, at some point. So you're right. So the
And
last,
I feel it's going to be interesting because remember what we have in 2028. We're hosting the Olympics, right?
yep, that's
Right.
going to be very, it, oh my gosh,
I'm just saying, like it's going to be very, very
very
interesting.
interesting. You're
And
right.
especially in certain sports, especially in a sport like track, does this mean you'll forego college and maybe just go pro if you're obviously really talented
Hmm.
and really good?
Interesting.
Questions, right?
We shall see.
Obviously,
We
that's not
shall
the
see.
answer in every sport, right? But like,
Yeah,
depending, on your sport, right? Like,
right.
what will
We shall
happen?
see. Last question. Do you think it'll be a mass exodus from HBCUs and athletics? And probably not, since well, I would just say the SWAC, they opted in, but
Right.
what are your thoughts on that?
I think the SWAC opt-in was huge, right? Like
It was
usually
huge. I was like, thank you, Jesus.
because when we think about HBCU sports, right? The
Yeah.
SWAC. Do you know what I mean? So I think, others probably will follow suit. I think the money is always going to be the big question, but
Mhm.
if anything, the HBCUs have withstood the test of time in terms of a lot of things, right? That have
Yeah.
been going on. So I'm not as worried. I know there's a lot of questions. Again, I think the biggest thing is who you're going to be able to get. But remember the transfer portal, folks, again,
Yeah.
like that still is a thing,
That's,
that is
yeah.
happening. And especially now, I mean, I know everybody thinks every athlete is looking at money, but believe me, from talking to athletes, that's not the only thing all athletes are looking at.
Mhm.
Yes, your star athletes and people who know they can get some money, that's big. But
Right.
there are still people who love the game and honestly, still athletes who want some playing time. So they will still be looking, at
Mhm.
the school where they can get the most playing time, as opposed to maybe having an NIL deal, but riding the bench. So all that to say, I think HBC, but I think the SWAC, and that was big news to drop. I do think that will hopefully, set a precedent. But I also know where the SWAC is compared to some of the other HBCU
Right.
conferences, right? So that is something to look at. But again, it's kind of like at this point, it's kind of like AI and technology, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
might not like it, you might not want to be part of it, but at the end of the day, you pretty much have to. And even
Yeah.
if you're using AI, you are like it's in your phone, it's embedded in things that you do, and you might
Great
not.
analogy. Great analogy.
So that's kind of the future
Mhm.
of it. But again, I think there's going to be a lot of questions to be made. What I've said on another podcast, Sonia, is I think this is when HBCUs are going to have to lean on more than ever. And I know this has been a big question, but this is when we have to lean on the money that's coming in. So this
Yeah.
is when the conversation about alumni donors and giving back to your college and things like that. And this is not just for HBCUs, but for every school. Look, I checked my mail the other day and I had a couple envelopes, Sonia, asking for funds. But I say that to say, it's that time now again where you're going to have to
That's
look at
time.
your
Yeah.
sources of income and what can you do. So, I think if you want to see your school part of this, I do think you can. It's almost like, what can you do to help? But I know some people are going to say, well, colleges make so much money. Well, yes, they do, but you have to look at the numbers at each school, how it
Right.
breaks down, and we know not all colleges, unfortunately, were created equal, right?
That's
So
right.
all that to say, you just got to have to be crafty, I think, with your revenue sources and how you're able to be put in, playing by the rules.
And even, I made a plea to Jackson State alums back in 2013 because I was interning with Jackson State at the time, and that's when Jackson State played Grambling, and Grambling did not show up, and that was a huge thing. People were wrapped around the building getting a refund for a $25 ticket,
See.
and I said, "Hey guys, at that time the season tickets were $75." I'm like, even if you don't come to a game, just buy the tickets, give them
Donation.
away,
Yeah,
donate them.
donation. Yeah, like that. And as you I was talking about, Grambling, Jackson State, and I know obviously we
Yeah,
up in Las Vegas.
absolutely.
It's all that to say, like I said, and again, I understand. Like I know student loan debt is
I
real.
get it.
I have student loans on here, so I can put that on record, right? But
Yeah,
at the end of the day, it's like for me, for instance, I want Maryland to be finally competitive in the Big Ten. What part
right.
can I play, right? And I know Maryland, unfortunately, hasn't been able to be as competitive as you look at, because you look at who they're competing against, but you also look at the money that those other schools,
Correct.
are able to generate and bring in. So again, even going back to ticket prices again, Maryland ticket prices compared to, let's say, Ohio State. So yeah, you think they're the same? They're not.
Heck no,
They're definitely not,
absolutely
right?
not. Right. So we just have to, we got to do
And that's
better.
all on us. But again, you just have to think like, what can, be helpful? Even just sometimes being engaged, right? Like, being engaged with these college. Like for me, Maryland has a brand new athletic director, and I think right now it's time for Maryland alums, put their head out, put their neck
Mhm.
out. Like,
That's
hey,
right.
like, this is what we've been wanting. This is what we've
Right.
seen. Like, I would love to, I would love for anybody that has some type of touch point with Maryland, to get involved and kind of, say
Right.
their piece experiences and thoughts. So, because we're all figuring this out together, but
Yeah.
it was inevitable. And I think right now it's just, how can we move forward with the revenue share model to make it best and fair and equitable for everyone? That's the hard question right now, but that's where they're trying to move towards.
That's true. Absolutely. Yeah. One more thing, maybe you can give them this tip, and they probably already did it. One thing they did, which I love, they got the Greeks involved. They was like, like we did the Deltas 1913, y'all did 1908. And that's how you got some of the alums. And so it's a way, different ways you can get people like, okay, yeah, I'll give 1913, or whatever. So
it's just important because it's always easy for folks to complain. It's a lot harder to get folks to do something, right?
Absolutely.
Complaining is easy. Doing something is harder for the most part.
Yeah.
So, just be part of the solution. Be part of the solution, not complaining about the problem.
Kelsey, thank you so much for joining me. But as you know, we play our little game.
Let's do it.
What you know. So we're gonna do a little NBA final trivia. Which player? Oh God, let me look at my paper. I lost my thing. Which player holds the record for the most NBA championships as a player? Is it Kobe Bryant, MJ, Bill Russell, or Magic Johnson?
That would be the great Bill Russell.
Absolutely.
Who also does not get talked about enough, by the way.
That is true. That is true. And he was a civil rights activist as well. He was amazing.
He went through some stuff for them championships.
Absolutely. Exactly. Which team has the longest consecutive NBA championship streak? Is it the Celtics, Pistons, Bulls, or Lakers?
Oh, this one is okay. I think I'm going to stay with the Celtics.
That is correct. The Boston Celtics with 8 consecutive titles from 1959 to 1966.
Really wild.
We were both with Jesus at that time. Yes.
And tell Tyler Hero, yes, basketball exists.
Which team was the first to come back from a 3-1 deficit in the NBA Finals to win the championship? Was it the Warriors, Cavaliers, Bulls, or the Heat?
Oh my gosh, I know this is the Warriors Cavs series, and I was there. Oh my gosh, and of course this humidity has my brain foggy. I'm gonna say it was were the Warriors up or the Cavs up? Sonia in my head. Okay, I want to say it was the Warriors.
Don't be looking at me for
I needed the facial expression.
Like this.
I needed the facial expression. I know it was the Warriors Cavs series.
You're right about that. It was the Cavaliers in 2016.
Cavs. Okay, there we go. See, I knew it was that series.
Which player was the first European to win the NBA Finals MVP award? Was it Dirk Nowitzki, Tony Parker, Luka Doncic, or Tony Kukoc?
Oh, with Tony Kukoc, he went back. Look, it's one of the Tonys. You're doing a good straight face.
Look, I'm like this.
My head went to Tony Parker, but I feel like that's Tony. And you're not giving me any expression. Or is it Tony Parker? Okay, good. I know. Look, kid, don't second guess yourself. Trust your gut.
Last one. Which team has won the most NBA Finals? Is it the Bulls, Warriors, Boston, or Lakers?
Okay. With the Celtics' last victory, definitely the Celtics, right?
You said what now?
Celtics. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? The Celtics, Boston Celtics.
That is correct. They have
Boston recently because you did a lot of Boston, like.
Because I know you're thinking I'm gonna do. I know you thought I was gonna do the Bulls, and I was like, I'm gonna switch it up a little bit.
Switched up on me today. Like she showed a lot of love to Boston, so I'm like, maybe she took a trip to Boston.
Everybody knows Mike stuff
or something, or you met somebody nice from Boston.
No, everybody know Mike and the Bulls stuff. So I was like, I'm gonna switch it up a little. Kelsey, thank you so much for joining me today. Tell the listeners how they can follow you on social media as well as listen to your show, Listening with KNN.
Thank you so much. Yes, Listening with KNN. Follow along on our website, listeningwithknn.com, on social media at Listening with KNN. Especially this week, we will have a lot of great stuff We'll be part of the inaugural Negro League tonight at the Washington Nationals game.
Nice.
So excited about. And then also part of the inaugural FIFA Club World Cup here in Washington, D.C. So a lot of great content. Shout out to my amazing interns who just continue to just rock the world and help me put all this great content out. And of course, you can follow me, KelseyNicoleNelson.com. Again, lots of great stuff coming up this summer, including being part of our Capital Emmy Awards here this year. So super excited. I'll have a lot of great content for folks to follow, and you can follow me at The Real K Nelson. So always great to talk with you and be with you. I will be close to you soon in Houston. I have to figure out now my next Mississippi trip.
What are the dates?
July 12th. I will text you because you might have to come.
Text me. Okay.
See you.
And guys, you can follow me at She Say Sports on Facebook, She Say Sports 23 on Instagram, and please subscribe to our YouTube page, She Say Sports. Well, that's our show today, Kelsey's Corner. Next time we'll see you. Wait a minute. Let me do that over. I'm sorry, Roy. Let me see. Well, that's my show for today. Until next time, this is Sonia and Kelsey with Kelsey's Corner, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
She say sports. She say sports. She say sports. She say sports. She say sports.